welcome to FightScene with F16, an online mentoring space where we talk real life with fighters and coaches to help you become a better person in and out of the ring. Okay, well, viewers, thanks for joining us. Today I'm delighted and honoured to have special guest Terry Hill. Terry is Komatua Chief, Kancho Daihyo, whatever your terminology you want to use. For the combat sports, kickboxing, martial arts in New Zealand. So I'm very honoured to have Terry on today's program. Yeah, Terry, I guess where I'd like to start, just a bit of a personal thing. And I came over to New Zealand. I can't remember what the year was. Might have been 2010, might have been 2006. I can't remember. I fought for a version of a world title up in Auckland. I fought a Thai guy, and I got stopped in the fourth round. And I seen my opponent afterwards, and he's trying to give me advice, and that just rubbed salt in the wound even more. Yeah, I'm like, oh, I'll get you one day. But something that I remember from that is when I was fighting, I heard this voice giving me some advice. Yeah, and later on, I come to hear that it was Terry Hill that was giving me a bit of advice from the crowd, and I always remember that. Because being an Australian coming over here, like the love-hate thing that we've got going on and all that sort of stuff. I didn't know anyone and everything, but yeah, just so like I always remember that. And then when I moved to Hamilton 5-6 years ago, and I got a job at I can't remember the name of the place. I didn't last long. I had to count thousands and thousands of little rubber things, and I kept making mistakes. But my boss had trained with you. I got talking, and I said, I used to be into the kickboxing and everything, and he was a really lovely bloke, and he said, "Oh, yeah, do you know Terry Hill?" I used to train with him, and he just spoke so highly of you. Being around sort of back in the scene here in Hamilton, I've come to just see like he's just a top bloke, a really good person. So I'm honoured to have you on today.
Thanks, mate. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you guys. So thank you.
So Terry, where did it all start for you? Martial arts journey. What year? How old were you?
I was 16 years old, and the exact date was the 10th of December, 1974.
74.
And how can I remember that? Because it's the same day I got my driver's license. Sort of the carry on from the Bruce Lee era. And it just so happened that the night before, I was my girlfriend at the time, later on my first wife, she rang me up and she said, "Oh, do you want to see that movie that her brother-in-law was telling us about, Way of the Dragon, the Bruce Lee movie?" And I said, I got my driving test tomorrow, and I've got a school C exam as well, and blah, blah, blah. And then she said, "Oh, Mum will come and pick you up in the Charger." So they had a Hemi Pacer Charger and had a big racing stripe. And I thought, oh, yeah, hell. Movies and said that, get out of this flash car in the main street and have everybody looking at me. What a great idea. So I did. So I went to Way of the Dragon and just came out a different person. It was like that changed my life, that one movie on that date. At the end of that year, I finished school, got back home, back to New Plymouth, and started training, working. And the first thing I did was try and look up a karate school. And that was it. It all kicked off from there. And then from the karate, reading a lot of the Bruce Lee material. And he's saying that martial artists should train like boxers. So the next thing, I'm down at a boxing gym.
Yeah.
And had a fairly good career. It wasn't huge, and I won a provincial title, but really enjoyed it. And then moved up to Hamilton. And of course, exposure there, they had what Philip Lam called his full contact martial arts tournament. And the Thai boxing came into it after that. Philip was the one that brought the Thais over. And we fought them and had varying degrees of success with it. And yeah, it all just kicked off from there.
So you've been in it a while, Terry. I've come and gone. I've just popped my head back in the last few years. But you've been consistent all that time. What's a couple of things that have kept you in the game, like doing the mahi, coming to the gym, afterwards, after work when you're buggered, and putting your time and energy into it? What's kept you in it?
Yeah, it really is a love, a passion, an obsession. My ex-wives call it. It's just what I do. It's me, and I can honestly say that I don't know what else I'd be doing if I wasn't involved in some way in some area of martial arts. We still run a karate school, kickboxing, the boxing, the stand up for the MMA. We've got jiu-jitsu classes in there now as well, and the kobudo. Martial arts is holistic. It's not just one thing. It's not just Thai boxing. It encompasses a whole area, and the study and research is really interesting, and it certainly puts things in perspective. I mean, the Thai boxing, which isn't the originating art, actually, the Kun Khmer is the Cambodian stuff. It's documented through Angkor Wat, which was the largest area in Southeast Asia. So the northern Chinese migrated down into what we today call Southeast Asia basin, and they all gravitated towards Angkor Wat because it was a center, a capital. But at the time, the Angkor Wat had 1 million people, inhabitants. London only had 50,000. That's how big this place was.
Yeah, right.
And shooting happened, and a lot of the people did. They migrated down south, which is what we know today as Cambodia. To the left, Thailand, further Burma, Laos, Vietnam, etc., etc. But their roots and origins are all from Angkor Wat. So the traditional martial art that the Khmer people taught was Bokator, but there was a weapon system like Krabi Krabong in Thailand. Yeah. And then from there, getting rid of the weapons and having it as a training drill, and the traditional was Pradal Saray, or you have Muay Boran in Thailand, and then Kun Khmer, which is just boxing of the Khmer, and Muay Thai, boxing of the Thai people. So again, on all these levels, everything was sort of even with basic ingredient for the development of it. And the reason why the Thais were so good early on in the piece, and still are 100%, is that they actually had exposure to a lot of Western ideology, consequently a ring, boxing gloves, etc., because they had the port areas. Cambodia was pushed away. I mean, they had ports too, but
just stuck up in the hills.
Yeah, exactly. And the control that the governments put over the people and their interaction with foreigners, and this was a universal thing back in those days. But Thailand was open, or Siam as it was at the time, was open to foreigners coming in, and it's even believed that some of the Thai boxing and some of the weapons that they used with the Krabi Krabong was introduced into Okinawa because they were seafarers, which the karate connection and etc. So there's some very interesting sort of study around that, and look at the fighting systems. There's a lot of similarities. There's more similarities than there are dissimilarities. Thai boxing's moved more into a sport. I mean, karate has too, but you still have a very traditional format. But you have that also with Muay Thai, with Krabi Krabong, with Kun Khmer, with Boktor, etc., etc. Unfortunately, today, the mass media and everything's open and exposed to everybody. You've got a lot of people just making a lot of stuff up purely for their personal financial gain or whatever. But, I mean, you can normally take things from everybody, even the bullshit artists, and grow and develop it.
Yeah. I guess, like nowadays, like with MMA and the UFC, like the Americans have made it huge now, and it's bits of any martial arts, so
Yep.
people are making different things work. All right, Terry, sort of going on the personal side, what's one challenge that you've had in life, like a really hard situation, something that you've learned being a fighter, being trained in the martial arts that's helped you in life?
There's many, especially a job that I had a decade ago was repositioning cars, and having to go and confront people and talk to people. You could turn up to somebody's place, get the car keys and drive the car away. Obviously, after the negotiation, etc., I wouldn't have to wait for an hour for a tow truck to turn up, and then, of course, be the target of abuse because you're sitting on somebody's in somebody's driveway
With a car,
waiting for the tow truck. So there's just the communication level, and I think everybody the same as you'd like to be treated. So when I go up and talk to these guys, I'm doing it from a level of composure and confidence that they're probably not used to encountering from an old guy like me. And, it really comes down to the communication level. My brother said to me after that, how do you get those guys to wave out to you when you're driving away in their car? And I said, look, I've got to go back and see them again. I've got to go back and take them the legal document. I said, I'm keeping this on a very, I don't really know them, but I'll listen to their story and try and work around their hardship. I'm being nice to them. I'm not being an arsehole, because that just leads to more and more problems.
Yeah. All right. So on another one, what's a loss or setback that you've experienced in your career, and how has training and martial arts helped you with that?
It makes you reflect on things, I think, more than anything else. I mean, after my losses, nobody's happy after a loss. And like you said before, it's like, I'll get you one day, you prick. But I would literally go and sit down by myself in a quiet place and reflect on the whole thing. What did I do? What did I do wrong? What did I do right? How can I adjust this? How are we going to handle this? What are we going to do comeback-wise, etc., etc.? But it really, fighting, there's two sides to that coin. There's winning and losing's part of it. There are no fighters that have ever gone out there and won everything. They just aren't. Even in the amateur ranks and that. A good example is Rocky Marciano. So he retires 49-0, world heavyweight boxing champion. He lost his first amateur fight. Right? And a lot of people wouldn't know that. But as an amateur, he had a couple of defeats, but he lost his first one because he gassed out. And he was so disgusted with himself afterwards. By the time, it was all over, he ran home. He ran 10 Ks home and swore he would never, ever finish or be finished in a fight because of a lack of fitness. And he was a trainer that was possessed with the physical fitness thing. You look at some of his fights, well behind on points, they're going into the 13th and 14th rounds, there's a man who could still put them away.
Yeah, that's so important for some of the younger ones, you know, facing losing. Like you say, you know, everyone's lost or is going to lose at some stage.
Yep.
And yeah, to come back through it stronger. Yeah.
Yeah, you treat it as an education. It's like anything. It's like falling off your bike. I mean, nobody wants to fall off the bike on the road because it hurts. All right. But you quickly analyze it and work out what you did wrong, you know, not looking where you're going or hitting the gutter or whatever. And you don't do it again, or you try not to do it again anyway.
Yeah.
So again, it's a learning curve. And, you know, I like that saying, you either win or you learn. You know, it's not losing.
Yeah.
You're going to grow from the experience. And that's the important thing.